Quick,
The Eagles are ponying up.
Did I see somewhere that that Jalen Hurts has been throwing with AJ somewhere? Did I read that?
Wow.
I don't know if those guys
I
were
read
working
something
together.
about him throwing with some wide receiver. Is that who it was?
I think so.
I got to go back.
I think so. I'm going to go back and look
I
at it
just,
tonight,
you know, I'm glad you said that because I was reading something.
All right, Devin, appreciate it. Devin's doing a great job all night with her reports over there, keeping us up to speed on what's happening with some of the movement for the Eagles, that's for sure. I'm Rob Ellis. We welcome back in Seth Joyner, who's getting the latest information from Derek Gunn and Mike Quick. So, guys, it appears that there's also an extension in the works, like we talked about, 4 years, $100 million for A.J. Brown. So he got paid, Big Q.
Yeah, I was born too early. It's a beautiful thing, though.
Yes, it is.
And I really like the fact that now you've got a veteran receiver in the room. You know, they talk about Greg Ward being the veteran guy. And, you know, Greg Ward's 25, 26 years old, and he wasn't even a wide receiver, converted quarterback to the wide receiver. Smart guy, understands the game. But now you have a bona fide wide receiver, veteran guy in the room with all of these young receivers, and I think that really helps this receiving core overall.
Seth, what do you think? What's your take on Mike's thoughts?
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I've been saying all off season, that the Eagles need to figure out a way to bring in a veteran presence.
Okay.
Because you got a room full of really young guys. First, second, third year guys that need someone who's been in the league for a while, that understand how to be a pro and understand, how to prepare and how to play the game, that can help. And I always thought, when the Eagles drafted Devontae Smith, I thought that he was a very accomplished route runner.
Sure.
But you still need that veteran presence, because you could see there were times last year where he was struggling at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Yeah.
You need a veteran guy that's there that can pull him to the side and teach him and talk to him about the things that's necessary, for his development.
Yep.
And that room needs this.
And Seth, even game day, there are things that happen on the field that because you haven't been in these situations, you just don't know. And you don't know how to get out of some situations. But a veteran guy who's been around a while, that's the kind of guy you want to have to lean on in those situations that you have never been a part of before.
Hey, listen, you had it with Harold.
I had it with Harold Carmichael.
I had it with JAKIB when I came.
Yep.
I think, every young guy needs that mentor, that someone that teaches them how to be a pro, what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go.
Yeah, no, well said.
I don't know if you guys have heard what I said a while ago prior to the commercial break. I said the thing I like most about this trade was he's the age of this youth movement at wide receiver for the Eagles. He can relate to them firsthand.
Yep.
As a young guy, he thinks like them. He knows what they like. He understands their language. They look up to him even though they're the same age because he's a proven commodity in the NFL already.
Absolutely.
And now he's $100 million proven commodity. And if you want to get to where he's gotten, you better listen to him.
Right.
All right, so there's a pick just in. Pittsburgh takes Kenny Pickett, so he stays in the same town that he played his college ball.
Pretty cool.
Kenny Pickett to the Steelers right there. Makes sense. I mean, they signed Trubisky, but that he feels like a placeholder, Mike, and eventually. And when was the last time we went 20 picks before a quarterback went in the first round of an NFL draft? It had to be years and years ago, man.
Well, and they hung on to Big Ben just a little bit too long, and certainly need a quarterback. And all the quarterbacks coming out, this is not the year of the quarterback, and we know that
for sure.
But out of the quarterbacks between Willis and Kenny Pickett, those are the best two quarterbacks that you have in this draft.
I got a good tweet for you guys. You guys will enjoy this. Hassan Reddick, new Eagle, right? He says, quote, "We got A.J. Brown and Jordan Davis plus the Sixers won. Today was a great day for Philly sports." I think we echo that sentiment of Hassan Reddick.
For sure.
It was a native, South Jersey kid, so he's very much in on that. But, yeah, I mean, if I told you before the night started that the takeaway would be Jordan Davis, monster defensive lineman, and then you trade for a proven, still 24-year-old wide receiver who's a Pro Bowl caliber receiver, I think we'd all sign up for that, right?
No doubt about it.
It's a good night.
Pretty good
I
night
agree.
for Howie. Yeah. You would think there probably isn't going to be any more Eagles moves made tonight.
So now the pressure has increased on Jalen Hurts. We kept saying
Yes.
he needed toys to play with. Okay, you got the young first-round pick in Devonta Smith. You now got A.J. Brown. You have one of the better tight ends in the game. You've got a decent offensive line that can hold their own. You got a stable of good young running backs that are interchangeable parts.
Mm-hmm.
So now the focus is on you even more so now. So the question is, Jalen Hurts, what are you going to do with this? That's the bottom line.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no more excuses, frankly. I mean, you have weapons now, certainly a huge, and who knows what else they get, but you have a monster weapon here, a guy who steps in and all of a sudden is the best player at that position, coupled with a good running game, an offensive line, and a good tight end in Dallas Goedert. There's no more, hey, he's got no one to throw to besides a rookie.
Can I say I don't think it's really been about the excuses. I really think it's been about his development. He's a young player, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Fair. It's fair, Seth.
If he was the second overall pick instead of the 53rd overall pick, would we be having this kind of conversation about Jalen Hurts? No. We would give him the latitude and the time to grow. But because he wasn't the top 10 pick, the number 2 overall pick, we want him to speed up his developmental clock. Listen, the kid is shadowing Tom Brady. He's working with a quarterback guru. That tells me right there that the kid wants to get better. He's going to do what's necessary to get better. Let's just give it time and just stop with this nonsense of, trying to hurry the process up. He's got weapons. I think he'll be better this year. The thing is, he's got to learn how to throw the ball in rhythm. He's got to learn how to throw it on time, and he's got to learn how to go through his progressions the right way. He's got to learn how to, read coverages pre-snap so he knows where he wants to go with the ball. And that's a process for a guy who's been in 6 different offenses the last 6 years of his football career.
Yeah, I think everything you say is valid, but I think from an organizational standpoint, Mike, they can now look at it and say, we're giving this guy a much more fair chance than he necessarily had last year to make a decision if you want to move on after this year.
And I think that's important that you give him as much as you can give him the supporting cast so that he can be the best possible player that he can be. But Seth is right. He has to grow some himself, and you have to give time for that growth. Look at the quarterbacks in this league you don't really see the quarterback mature and become the quarterback that we think are great quarterbacks until their late 20s, sometimes into their 30s, before they really become the quarterbacks that we think are great quarterbacks. And this kid has played very little football in the NFL. You ask quarterbacks to do mainly 2 things. You ask them to make good decisions, and you ask them to throw with accuracy. Well, I like his decision-making, and I know that he's going to get better as an accurate passer. And when he starts to progress as an accurate passer, then I think we're going to be really pleased with this young. Everything else about him, I love.
Yeah.
I love the guy. The
The
way the guy works.
intangibles are just through the roof.
What's crazy to me is how quickly even veterans migrated to this guy.
Yeah.
When he came into that locker room, it didn't take long at all for guys to just migrate to him and just want to be around him. He's that type of guy.
Yeah, you saw it right away. Even the year before, getting away from the Wentz drama, everybody kind of exhaled and took a deep, they're just like, oh, okay, this guy's all about business. There's not none of this nonsense.
Nope.
And that's the thing, Seth. I mean, when a guy works like he works, I don't want to say it's half the battle, but it's a big hurdle to get over because we talked earlier about guys, the Ryan Leaf types who just aren't there.
Hey, listen, every single day that you wake up, you got the 2 C's, okay? You got a choice and you got a chance. You got a choice of how you're going to live and what you're going to do, and you got a chance to make yourself better, okay? And as a quarterback, he's expressed what his choice is about what he's doing in the offseason.
Yep.
Because the way that the collective bargaining agreement is set up now, it wasn't like when I played. After my rookie year was over, I go in for my exit interview with Buddy, and he looks at me. He was like, what's your? I mean, it was a setup the entire way. He goes, what's your plans, for the offseason? Well, I think I'm going to go back to El Paso. I'm going to enroll in school, work towards my degree. He looks at me. He says, you're either going to be a football player or a student. The offseason program starts on February 28th, and he points at the door. Get out. Okay? So And from February 28th to when the coaches went on vacation,
Yeah.
I was here in Philly doing what I had to do to get better, and it was the most critical time, of my young career. These guys now don't have the latitude to do that because the collective bargaining agreement says you can only touch your players during OTAs. You can only touch them during specific times. So you don't have the opportunity to work with guys on the technical side and the things that you really need to work on.
Yep.
So now guys have got to go outside the realm and find these gurus, whether it's a quarterback guru or a linebacker or a defensive or a rush guy, to help them improve their technique and get better in the offseason. If they're not doing that, then they're not going to progress because the player is tied to his ability to get better fundamentally and technically from year to year.
We got a bit of an upset here. At 22, the Green Bay Packers take Quay Walker, inside linebacker out of Georgia. So Quay Walker comes off the board before Nakobe Dean, before Devin Lloyd. Prior to that, the Chiefs made a trade with the Pats and grabbed Trent McDuffie, the corner out of Washington.
Another Georgia guy.
Yeah, so they're the last two moves that went. Trent McDuffie to Kansas City. Quay Walker goes to the Packers. D-Gun, your thoughts on that one?
Well, obviously, Aaron Rodgers needs some pass catchers, and they're not going to get him.
He might need a straitjacket.
Yeah, he may need a straitjacket because his safety blanket, Devontae Adams, is $140 million richer now with the Raiders. But when you look at the way Green Bay's defense played last year, it was a top 10 defense, and they predicate that defense on their linebacking play. And they pick up a guy. What school did he play for?
Georgia.
Wasn't he considered one of the premier linebackers coming out of the draft? Now, I'm still a big Nakobe Dean fan, but this here's another guy. Speed, sticks his nose in there, disruptive, blows up plays. And, obviously Green Bay feels that, with that secondary, they have one of the better young secondaries in the game right now.
Yeah.
Now they're showing up the linebacking core. They picked up Jared Reed from Seattle to help, the defensive line. So they're locking down their defenses. Aaron, you know what? We'll get to you in a minute.
All right, let me update you on what the Eagles have left after, assuming they don't do anything else tonight. Second round, 51. Third round, 83. Fifth round, 154. Seventh round, 237. Remember, they traded 15, 124, 162, 166 to get Davis. They traded 18 and 101 to get Brown. So they've been wheeling and dealing, man. It sounds like a lottery. I'm rolling out lottery.
So they went from 11 picks to how many do they have left now in the draft?
4.
4 picks left in the draft.
1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the seventh, and the fifth rounders from Washington, and the seventh rounders from New Orleans.
That's okay, because 1 in the third, you can get a really good player right there.
Yep.
And the fourth.
Yeah.
So you look at all
third
these.
and fifth.
Third and fifth. You look at all these pass rushers. You look at some of the cornerbacks that will still be around in the second round. The linebacker out of Georgia that we talked about earlier, that's still on the board, Dean.
Yeah.
There's so many players now. When I look down the list, there's so many talented players that are still out there that are going to be out there tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what scares me though? I just get the feeling that a lot of those players ain't going to be there at 51.
Yeah. Who's playing cornerback? Who's playing?
It's a great question.
Who's playing cornerback is a very good question.
You better get to the
Who's
quarterback.
playing safety?
Here's what I think they're going to do.
They only got one safety on the roster, right?
Yes. So here's what I think they're going to do. If you look at the free agency board, there's still a lot of veteran players who are sitting
Honey
there.
Badger.
Yes.
They're going to pick up some Steve Nelson.
That's right.
At safety, at
That's right.
corner, who are
Absolutely.
low budgets, not going to kill them cap-wise. 1-year deal because these guys want to stay relevant in the league, and a prove-it deal, and probably, parlay that into a bigger deal if they stay healthy and ball out in 2022. Knowing Howie's mindset, that's what I see him doing because you got one safety, you got one proven corner. You can't go to a gunfight with a cap gun.
Right.
And basically that's what the back end of that defense looks like right now.
Yeah.
Let me throw something in. Like when you look at a lot of these players and you look at just the skill set and the measurables and all of the things that the scouts use, a lot of these guys still on the board that many of us expected to be gone already.
Right.
But one of the things that always will knock these guys down, you see a first round draft pick grade on a guy.
Right.
And then he ends up second day, late in the second day going. And a lot of this has to do with many times the character of that player.
Right.
When you have guys like the security guy for the Eagles, Big Dom, and they're doing the background check,
Sure.
and they find out all of the things that are in the background that you don't want to be a part of your team, and you feel like the chemistry is not what you want in your locker room, that guy's going to disrupt the chemistry. That's when you see a lot of these talented guys start to fall down the board and not being drafted where we expect them to be drafted. They're grade 1 or day 1 grade, but they end up late in the selection.
Here's what we know about the draft every year. We don't know. We just don't know.
We don't know.
Because this particular draft, nothing has played out the way most of these mock drafts thought it would.
No question.
Who would have thought
So it
Drake
makes it
London
great, by the way.
would have been the first receiver off the board when everybody knew it was going to be Garrett Wilson, Olave.
That's right.
Nobody thought London was going to be the first.
Who would have thought that Walker was going to be the first
Ahead of
linebacker
us.
off the ball?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody. Who would have thought N'Kobe Dean would still be on the board at this stage of the draft?
Who would have thought that Walker was going to be the very first? Did any mock draft say that he was going to be the
Not
first
a single
selection?
one. Not a one.
I haven't seen a single one.
No.
Stingley goes ahead of Sauce Gardner. Like
There
there's
you
a
go.
million of these
Yeah.
where you look back and you say, really? That's the way that Drake
Yeah,
London
but
being the
that's-
first receiver.
Yeah.
To me, that's the problem with the mock draft. Okay, because everybody's bombarding you from the time the Super Bowl is over to the time the draft till we get to today.
Right.
They're bombarding you with all of these mock drafts. He's
All
going
these
here.
scenarios.
And you got 8 different guys on the NFL Network that come up with 2.0, 3.0, 99.0.
Yeah.
And so they kind of set your mind on what the board looks like. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to how each and every one of these teams look at the players and how they value them and how they see them being a fit in their organization.
Yes.
All right, we got another selection. Khair Elam, Mike, you referenced him earlier. The corner out of Florida goes 23 overall to the Buffalo Bills. Dallas on the clock, followed by Baltimore and Tennessee, et cetera. So
Well,
that's
Sean
kinda where we're at.
McDermott, head coach in Buffalo, really solid defensive-minded guy, and this is a perfect fit for McDermott in Buffalo.
You're grabbing Elam, no doubt. Yeah, what are we thinking for Dallas?
I can see them trying to replace Amari Cooper. I mean, I know a lot of the premier receivers are gone in this draft, and I don't know, I don't have the list in front of me in terms of what's left, but eventually they're going to have to try to replace Cooper. Now, they got lucky a few years ago with a kid named Michael Gallup in the 3rd round, I believe it was.
Yep.
And they just re-signed him to a big deal. So they need another
Good
pass
player.
catcher.
Yeah.
You know what scares me, Mike? The guy that you and I was talking about. If they go and they take George Pickens, and the Dallas Cowboys are the type of team that will go and take a guy who's got some questionable things in his past.
So-
if they go get him,
Yeah.
they ain't gonna ever think about Cooper again.
So off camera, Seth and I were talking, and I was, we were talking about the guys that are not really featured, but a stud in this season coming out is the wide receiver out of Georgia, George Pickens.
Yep.
But questionable background.
Some injuries.
Yeah, some injuries and other things off the field, things that a lot of teams wouldn't want to deal with. But Dallas,
It's got Cowboys written all
Dallas,
over.
they're no, or Kansas City. Andy Reid is the kind of guy.
And he's Mr. Second Chance.
Yes.
They're sitting there at 30. That could very well happen.
Many reclamation projects in Kansas City. So Andy Reid is the kind of guy. And the Dallas Cowboys, if they pick this kid up, it really instantly they are a major threat at the wide receiver position.
It scares me because when they moved up and took CeeDee Lamb,
Right.
They took CeeDee Lamb and they didn't really need a wide receiver at that time.
He's
I
so
was
good.
like, damn, the Eagles got problems. Okay, then we see them release Cooper this offseason.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, we got a little bit of reprieve. But if they pick this kid up, man, it's like, damn, all over again.
But see, last year I had said the Cowboys moving up to get CeeDee Lamb was their get back at the Eagles. Moving up to get Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
So
Hey, look, so Jordan Davis is meeting with the media, and he said, any knowledge, referring to Fletcher Cox playing with him, any knowledge he drops, I want to soak up like a sponge. Well, all right, you like to hear that kind of thing. That's a good sign. from Jordan Davis. So the Eagles, again, they come away with Jordan Davis after a trade up to get to 13. They, from what we're hearing, they sense that Baltimore was going to grab them. They move up. They get ahead of Baltimore. They take Jordan Davis, defensive tackle, behemoth out of Georgia. Then later, as they were sitting on the clock at 18, they make a trade with Tennessee. They move 18. They get A.J. Brown. So the trade in total, they trade away a lot. They give up, or excuse me, at 15. They trade away 15, 124, 162, 166, and they end up getting A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown then gets a reported 4-year, $100 million year, 57 guaranteed. He expressed how unhappy he was in Tennessee. There was a number of those guys that came out in that draft class, McLaurin being one of them, that were unhappy and wanted out. So the Eagles are ponying up.
Did I see somewhere that that Jalen Hurts has been throwing with AJ somewhere? Did I read that?
Wow.
I don't know if those guys
I
were
read
working
something
together.
about him throwing with some wide receiver. Is that who it was?
I think so.
I got to go back.
I think so. I'm going to go back and look at it.
I'm glad you said that, because I was reading something 2 days ago, and it said that Hurts was throwing with some
veteran wide receiver.
A veteran wide receiver somewhere.
When you look at the money the Eagles just gave A.J. Brown, as shocking and as mind-boggling as it may seem, it's market value.
It's value.
Right
it
now.
is. It's value.
When you think Christian Kirk got $74 million from Jacksonville,
right?
Devontae Adams gets $140 million from the Raiders.
Yeah, it's the
Tariq
market.
Hill gets $100 million, $120 million. These guys are starting to get quarterback money, low-tier quarterback money.
You can do this when you're not paying your quarterbacks a lot of money.
That is correct.
You know what I thought about too? The Cowboys lost out on Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
That'll be a problem.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
That'll be a problem.
I think I think that's where the Cowboys should go.
Yeah, D-line.
I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah.
Sometimes Jerry gets so caught up in the flashy pick.
Yeah.
But I don't know if even Pickens falls into
Jermaine
that
Johnson would be
Johnson makes perfect sense.
Scary.
That would be scary.
You got DeMarcus Lawrence on one side and Johnson on the other side. Man, that's going to be that would be a problem.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Don't forget
that's
last
a problem.
year they used their first 6 draft picks on defense.
Yep.
So
that would be a problem for the NFC East.
They made an amazing transformation from the previous year to last year
Right.
defensively. And a lot of that had to do with the defensive coordinator who was really good, but they had a lot of guys who stepped up.
It had solely to do with Micah Parsons.
Michael Parsons, Penn
Okay.
State.
True.
And it's one of the reasons why I said, hey, I want the Eagles to go get that guy. Now, I'm not saying that he's Ray Lewis, but he has a Ray Lewis effect.
Yeah.
When that guy steps in the locker room and when that guy's on the field, he raises the level of everybody.
No question.
Because as a rookie, everybody else is watching him, and they're like, we can't let the rookie outplay us like that.
Right,
That raised everybody else's level.
No question.
And
now,
for an offense that's preparing for the Dallas Cowboys, it's like when you come out of the huddle, where's Waldo? Because you want to know where Michael Parsons lined up, because he has that big of an effect on the football game.
Little surprise. They took an offensive tackle, did the Cowboys. Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. Their offensive line has taken some hits over the last couple of years.
Is really in flux.
Yeah, it's we kept talking. I think we were all still in the mode of they have this great offensive line. Their line wasn't as great.
No, it
certainly
was not.
last year. They had some injuries and some guys aren't playing as well.
Did they lose Leo Collins?
Yes,
they lost
did.
Leo Collins.
Yes.
The Martin retired.
They lost what's the name? Connor.
Out of Texas.
Yes, they lost him also.
Yep.
McGovern. I'm trying to remember the other. Yeah, and they also remember the year before they lost the center Frederick.
Yeah, they need offensive line.
Tyron Smith was a little bit banged up, so they've had some issues. So that's it's an area of need. It's an area of need.
Absolutely.
Right? But I envisioned your scenario, Seth, where they were going defensive end. That would not have surprised me
either wide receiver or defensive end would have been catastrophic.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, so that's where the Cowboys go. So just to fill you in, I'll run through it real quick. What's taking place? So number 1 overall out of you're here to Georgia a lot, so just get ready. But Trayvon Walker goes number 1 overall to Jacksonville, 6'5", 272 edge guy. Then Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan goes 2nd overall to the Lions, another defensive end. Derek Stingley, in a bit of a surprise, goes ahead of Sauce Gardner to the Texans at 3. Sauce Gardner goes number 4 to the Jets. Number 5, Kayvon Thibodeau goes to the Giants. So if you're looking at what is happening in the NFC East, Iquanu, Ikem Iguanu, Icky is his nickname, out of NC State, goes to Carolina, offensive tackle.
Wolfpack.
There you go. Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama, goes 7 to the Giants. So, again, looking at the division. Drake London goes 8 to Atlanta. Charles Cross, who's another offensive lineman out of Mississippi State, goes to Seattle. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State, goes to the Jets. Chris Olave, another Ohio State wide receiver, goes to New Orleans. Jamison Williams out of Bama ends up going to Detroit. Eagles take Jordan Davis there after trading up from 15 to 13. The defensive tackle out of Georgia. Kyle Hamilton goes to the Ravens at 14. Kenyon Green, who is an offensive guard, goes to the Texans. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver out of Penn State, goes 16 overall to Washington. Zion Johnson from D.C., offensive guard, goes to the Chargers. Treylon Burks goes to the Tennessee Titans, who traded away A.J. Brown at number 18 overall. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, goes to the Saints. Kenny Pickett stays in Pittsburgh, goes to the Steelers at 20. Trent McDuffie ends up going to Kansas City. Defensive back Quay Walker, inside linebacker from Georgia, taken ahead of Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd, goes to Green Bay. Khair Elam, for defensive back, goes to Buffalo. And then Tyler Smith, offensive lineman, goes to the Cowboys. And we are awaiting Baltimore, Tennessee, Tampa, Green Bay, New England, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Minnesota. All right, let's take a quick timeout. I'm going to catch my breath. Mike,
Good idea.
Seth, D Gunn, Devin Caney, all hanging out with you. We're coming to you live from Top Golf Swing Suite Ocean Casino Resort. Great crowd here, a lot of fun, unbelievable night for the JAKIB Draft Special.